Hey guys, Jen with Astro T. So we are going to be discussing the astrology of March, and it is time that we are going to start seeing things getting exposed. So this is when 2025 really starts ramping up. So I would definitely keep in mind during this whole month to really stay away from any new relationships. Hookups are fine, not with an ex though. Big purchases, probably don't make any big purchases around now. Don't sign any really important contracts or invest in any new stocks, or any new investments might not be the best idea. And this is because we have Venus and Mercury going retrograde this month. So let's break it all down and see what's going to be going on. So we begin with Mercury conjuncting the North Node and then Neptune, and that is in those last degrees of Pisces. So it's letting those ideas come in, no matter how far-fetched, because you just never know. It doesn't, any kind of crazy idea you might have, you can just kind of fine tune it a little bit. And especially like today, we are taping this on the new moon in Pisces. So it's really just, there's no boundaries right now. So as we get into Saturday, when the month starts, it's all about that, just kind of, maybe getting those ideas, getting them started a little bit, and then we'll make tweaks as we get further into the month. So Venus goes retrograde. Whatever's been brewing is now, we're time to think, but don't really overthink. So what's been going on during her pre-retrograde cycle? You want to rationalize, you want to decide, is this what makes me feel good? Am I just doing this just to do it? Just staying in it, doing it just because. And that could be the theme of what's going on in your love relationships. Again, you want to stay away from big purchases while Venus is going retrograde, because it could be something that you do spur of the moment, or just, out of like, oh, I used to like this, I'm going to get it. And then it's just, after she starts going direct, you're kind of regretting it a little bit. And maybe doing a little too much in the food and drink, luxuries, kind of stay away from that. Could come back to haunt you when we start moving retrograde, with maybe some extra pounds, maybe not feeling good, super hangovers, whatever. You want to kind of stay away from that. Now she's going to be in her retrograde cycle for 40 days. So it's a 40-day journey of reflection. So again, it's going back and thinking, like, is this something that I really want? And then is this really making me happy? And just see if this is something that you want to stick with. In those Venusian kind of themes, Mercury just begins its pre-shadow, then right before moving into Aries on the 3rd. So we keep track of those, again, those ideas, those conversations, something standing out in a conversation you might have had, some idea that just kind of stands out, even a dream. Because remember, we're just about to leave Pisces. So anything standing out in a dream that was like, now that I think about that, maybe even places that you've been that, you might be retracing your steps a little bit later on. So get ready, guys, because I think a lot of shit is going to come out, because then on the 2nd, we have the sun squaring Jupiter. And this is Jupiter in Gemini. So, it's really a time to kind of reel it in a little bit, because you could be doing a little bit too much or overdoing things, trying to be like, oh, look at me, trying to do 100 things at once, trying to really boost your ego and getting people to notice you, because that's that sun, that's with Jupiter. But making that square, it's just a little bit too much right now. You're trying to prove something, but too much can actually make you crash and burn, because you don't want to be a master of nothing. You want to, master of one, not a jack of all trades. So you want to really just place that focus on one thing and just really kind of hone in on that. So you can really just become that master of that one thing. And then you'll really shine in that area, even though, you might be trying to shine in every area, but do what you're best at. Really focus on what you're best at. Focus on where you really shine. So on the 11th, Mercury will conjunct that Venus retrograde. So I would kind of describe this as, an oh, what the fuck kind of revelation, because you're going to be finding stuff out. Could be finding stuff out about your finances or in your love life. Like, oh my God, really? I thought my stocks were doing good, or I thought my relationship was doing good. Kind of something that might, play out throughout the month. Something that, maybe comes up from the past, or little hints of something that's just like, I'm sensing something here, not feeling great about it, but we're going to kind of see how this works out. You want to keep your eyes open for that. The sun will then be conjunct to Saturn on the 12th as we get into mid-month. So now that we've honed in on our focus after that Jupiter Sun square, we can really begin to shine. Now, this is where Saturn is going to give us a little bit of help with that Sun. And it's going to, like, okay, what work have you put in? How did we handle our responsibilities this month? Maybe this is something that we can help teach somebody. Remember, we are on that waxing moon phase. So what are we learning? What have we learned about ourselves within this? What is kind of growing within us that we can really just kind of put to the test? Are you going to maybe use all this knowledge that you gain when, after the moon hits its full moon state, and then maybe start teaching somebody else, be that wise old owl that Saturn kind of wants you to be that mentor, be that kind of guru to somebody, be that older, smarter, learned person. You can hand down your knowledge that you've gotten because you've honed in that focus, because okay, I'm doing great at this. I am going to excel at this. So again, you want to reel in your own kind of, that multi-scattered, if you're, that person that's all over the place, try and just get that focus down to one thing, and then you can really, really shine in that, and, get the recognition that you've been working for towards the middle of the month. The 14th, it brings the total lunar eclipse, and that is, of course, a full moon. That's at 23 degrees of Virgo. And this is starting off our spring eclipse season with some earthy grounding, reflecting on our everyday life, how our everyday life is working out for us, how our our everyday working routines, what we're doing, how we might want to shake things up, because lunar eclipse is really about kind of letting things go. So what are you kind of working through? This is the full moon. So what have we achieved? And then what are we going to let go of? So now this is all building throughout the month, as we can see. So we have the sun and Jupiter square that has us kind of honing in. But first we start off the month with those little ideas. Okay. Our ideas are all over the place. They have no boundaries. That's in Pisces. That's, everything going. But then we have the retrogrades coming up. So we're looking back on what's important. And then we get into that, like, everything's kind of scattered. So we're going to hone it down a little bit. And then comes that lunar eclipse. And that is like that aha moment of, okay, something is going to just stick here. How are we going to make that work? How have we really done those, checks and balances to make sure things are going to work out? So this is going to be, of course, conjunct the south nodes. What's the south nodes? Because it is going to be about, again, releasing. So, and opposite Saturn and Neptune, and this is going to be the blood moon. And this is, of course, we're going to do a full video on this. So we're just going to kind of give a sum up here with the month, just kind of seeing how the month is going to play out. Again, what are you getting recognized for? What's the recognition for what you've worked for? Or, well, there may be a definite, maybe something difficult, a learning experience that you have to then work through. It really depends on how Saturn works in your chart and what it's working what planets it's hitting in your chart and where it's going, to see if it's going to affect you in a good way or a bad way. And it can easily affect all of our everyday lives and our health, because that is Virgo is has a lot to do with just our bodies and our health. And so be aware of how your body feels. If something doesn't feel quite right, you want to get that checked out. Anything that might feel a little bit strange, because again, that eclipse can really make something bigger than just a normal full moon would have. Like, okay, so I've had this mark on me and this mole, and it seems like it's growing a little bit bigger. Okay, this is that total lunar eclipse, that full moon. All right, it's at its peak now. We got to do something about it because something is not right. Get it checked out. So if you don't feel quite right, hi Bean, get it checked out. So then that's mid-month, that's around the 14th. So this is followed up by Mercury stationing retrograde on the 15th. So bang, halfway through the month. Now we have Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, both in Aries, Mercury at 9 degrees, Venus at 7 degrees. So this is an early Aries. Sometimes Aries can give us that kind of, we're not thinking of the consequences of stuff. Course, with Mercury and with Venus going retro, that could be that potential of an ex getting in touch with us or us getting in touch with an ex. But you guys, that this is going to be happening. So if you have that urge, maybe you've had a couple drinks, don't hit send. It's an ex for a reason, and relationships kind of started or restarted during the retrograde aren't really going to work out. So you want to stay away from that. Because in Aries, it's at that kind of no going back point. So you don't want to put yourself in a point where you can't turn back. We will still, we have those two major eclipses, those retrogrades. So just be smart. If an ex tries to contact you, don't do it. Or just getting into some old contract, anything that comes up from the past that didn't seem quite right, you want to stay away from it. And so this is like, we're going to find things out. And even if you are in a relationship and not getting back into an old relationship, this might be finding things out about, maybe the person that you're in that relationship with, or even, maybe people that you work with, any people that you're in any kind of relationship with. And these discoveries are just going to, I feel like, unveil just the fuckery of it all. Now, I had that word in mind for it. And I said, I think I could find a better word. Search the thesaurus, nothing. It's all about the fuckery. Okay, what's been going on? And I think we're going to see this in our personal lives and in our nationwide. I think a lot of stuff's going to be coming out with these retrogrades. We're pulling things out of the past that could come up and be like, oh my God. Like, I think we're going to have a lot of those moments this month with the Mercury Venusian things that along, Mercury and Venus. So that's about, again, relationships. These don't necessarily have to be ours though, because this is happening on a mundane level. So this is just in our charts. This is every chart and really what it's hitting off of. So, what kind of information are we going to find out about others' relationships, about money? Now, we're already seeing things coming out a lot on a national scale here in the United States in the financial realm. So now we're seeing this with the pre-shadow of Venus, and that is with the government Doge that is looking into where all of our spending's been going. Sorry, Dean just wants to be involved. I should have fed him first. But so they're looking into where spending is. So that is that looking into, and now what are we going to do about it? So they're trying to shut things down. I know there's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of people fighting for these things, and people losing their jobs. So it's a lot of in the financial world of getting back that money that may have been going to the wrong places. So we're already seeing that happening. I also think the other Venusian things coming out is going to be relationships. Again, what I think we're going to be seeing, we're already hearing little tidbits of it coming out. So again, that's that pre-shadow. We're hearing things about it, but it hasn't quite happened yet. I think I heard it's going to be happening today, is this Epstein files that are coming out. And I've been talking about this forever. And so the Epstein list is supposed to be coming out. So I think it's going to be a lot of shock. And when we find out who's on that list, it's going to be like, holy crap. So, like I said, it's going to be unveiling all of the fuckery that's been going on all this time. And it's just like, yeah, this isn't happening anymore. And now we have to put a stop to it. And that's going to be, I think, a lot of what's going on with what's with this Doge. And I know a lot of people are giving pushback about it, but if it means that we don't have to pay as high taxes, I'm kind of good. I'm kind of good. So, find any of that nonsense spending that's going on and really look into it before you start getting angry and see what it is they're finding, because it's a lot of weird stuff. Just like I said, it's all about this fuckery that's been going on. And it's like, yeah, this shit ain't happening anymore. We need to stop it. So it's about taking back control. At the mid-month, it starts really, I think we're going to really get a lot of these shocks and awes, and we need to do something about it. And I think a lot of people are going to be up in arms around this time, fighting back and forth between okay, we don't want this stuff anymore. And then people like, we need this stuff and that kind of thing. And then like, oh, don't put my names out. And then who knows what. But I think a lot of things are going to get real crazy by mid-month. So that's when the fireworks are really going to, I think, just start. And, pretty much we're going to be seeing it ramping up to that as the month begins with Venus going retrograde, the Mercury pre-shadow. We're going to be hearing stuff, starting to get sneak peeks of stuff, and then everything's going to just come out. And with that Sun square Jupiter, where the Sun used to, boost your ego and give you a big head, and where you might have been the center of attention, maybe you won't be anymore because of all this stuff coming out. Again, on the financial realm, or against those who have been on top or have been kind of like, in the spotlight. So that the Sun conjunct Saturn is a lot about people getting what they deserve. So, those people maybe that were on the Epstein list, maybe people that, you're hearing about that aren't putting in the work, that they're going to get what they deserve. So if you have good karma and you work hard, you're going to get what you deserve. And if you don't, and so you want to keep that clear conscience, because if you don't have a clear conscience, this stuff can come back to bite you in the ass pretty much. So I think this is going to be a big month for that. So, the good will rise up and the bad will kind of, fall. This all coming along with, the United States still going through its Pluto return per se. We're going to see a lot of those top people getting knocked down. Maybe celebrities are just not as respected as they used to be. Government's not as respected as it used to be because they're finding out so much stuff about it. Especially this month, it's going to really ramp up. On the 17th, the Sun will conjunct the North Node. So that really keeps on with that karmic aspect. Like I was telling you guys, if you've been a cheater, if you've been a liar, if you've been taking advantage of the system, if you've been sneaking money from work, if you've been who knows what, it's going to come back to haunt you. And karma can really be a bitch. Like you hear the saying, and it's not just a saying for no reason. So I would say, stay tuned to the news. It might be interesting. I know a lot of people, my son, he hates the news. He's like, news, how'd this get on? Like he just finds it evil, and it's always negative. And that's true. A lot of it is negative, but I think this is going to be kind of that get your popcorn ready type moment. So if you have good karma, I think you should just sit back and enjoy it. So, we don't wish each other any ill will, of course, but people that have done some of the things that we're thinking people did, it's kind of nice to see them get their comeuppance after a while, you know? Um, so think positively, and positivity will come your way. On the 22nd, Sun will conjunct Venus, a retrograde. So this is our Venus star point in her cycle. So where they become conjunct, and that is in Aries, where Venus will go from will being being retrograde. They're like, I kind of think this is like two lovers kind of coming together, or Venus going into the underground, just like um and when we come Kazemi, she's kind of invisible for a while. She's going to go from an evening star to a morning star. And in her evening star state, she was a little more of an introvert, a little more quiet, but that one that, kind of that broody, and fall in love for the long haul, and don't get over it very much. But the morning star is that Lucifer, that light bear. Again, we see the light starting to shine and the light illuminating things. So there's so much of that illumination and visibility, and it's as if Venus goes into a cocoon to just kind of go from that kind of brooding a little bit. She conjoins the sun, and then she reemerges and is reborn as that light bearer, ready to shed the light on things that she finds just wrong, and really just fueled by emotions like, oh, this just angered me. And so that is how this is going to be led. That's emotional, um anger. And again, we see that on that national scale here, where we have a president that is kind of the Pam Bondi, I'm not sure what her title is. She's like the secretary of, I don't know. I know she's the head of like all the judicial system or whatever. But anyway, she is looking into just things that happened in the past against Trump, and kind of taking them up on things. I should have wrote down what her title was, and I just feel stupid. But anyway, so I think we're going to see a lot of that coming back up. People getting their comeuppance. Maybe people that used and abused their power are going to be coming up, and kind of having that thrown back at them. So, and these are led by emotions about things that had happened in the past, because we got to remember that Venus is retrograde. So on the 20th, we welcome Aries season. Oh, finally, you guys, the sun makes its ingress and it begins spring. Thank God, because this winter has been an icy nightmare here in New England. So I will not be sad to see it go. The vernal equinox starts with that, and it's when the day and night, the light and the dark, are equal to each other. And we also celebrate the Sabbat Astara. So I have a super fun video plan for that. So about that holiday and how we can celebrate and really, just embrace the fact that spring has sprung. So you want to stay tuned for that. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well. So let's grow together. Let's learn together. It'll be a lot of fun. That one's going to be a little more light. So it's been, again, a long, icy winter. We look forward to that. And we welcome Aries season with open arms. But again, guys, you just gotta just watch what you do, because Aries can be that sign of just that, not thinking before we act. And we want to kind of, reel that in a little bit. Venus is back into Pisces on the 27th in her retrograde state, conjuncting Neptune, and then followed by Mercury, who will conjunct Neptune on the 29th. So, and that's after he moves back into Pisces. So, kind of thinking things, not really seeing things too clear, especially going retrograde, both of them. It's like, well, wait a minute. I think that was good. And this is, again, a time where the old relationships might pop up, because you might have forgotten how things were before, even an old friendship that didn't really work out. Somebody hits you up and you're like, oh, I'll go hang out with that person. Oh, well, last time we hung out, which you forgot about because you're seeing things in that rose colored glasses that Neptune provides. So our memories might not be too keen. Our memories of our relationships might not be too keen. So again, you want to try and stay clear-headed, go with your gut and not just with your head, because that's what that Aries does. It makes you do things without thinking sometimes. Because then we bring in the partial solar eclipse coming in on the 29th. And that is the new moon in Aries. So that's starting something new. So again, starting something new around this time, maybe it's more of getting the ideas instead of doing, because we do have a lot of retrograde going on. But we want to use that intuition. We want to use our sensitivity, our sensuality, and our passions, because those are going to be heightened at this time with our personal planets, Mercury and Venus being in Pisces, but back into Pisces. So it's all about intuition and just feeling before you act. So you want to really know, okay, how do I feel about starting this? How does this make me feel inside? Is this, what are my intentions with this? Am I really passionate about it? If your passion is in the occult sciences, tarot, astrology, or anything metaphysical, this is a time to just focus on that. Great time for that, because a lot of that intuitiveness. Start a new practice. If you've been debating starting a practice, great time for that. Starting something new in that way. If you're thinking of, dabbling in some spell work or any forms of manifestation that can help you attain your goals, go for it. Try it. Why not? It can't hurt, right? Do everything on a positive, put positive into it to get positive out of it. And again, I'm going to be dabbling in some videos with some manifestation ideas and a little spell work ideas as we get closer to Astara to really ring in these days. And just, of course, you do things how you feel comfortable with them. But this is the time to go for it. This is the time to take, and you can, do these things as you start with the new moon and with this eclipse, because a lot, again, with these occult sciences, it's a great time to really focus on that if you're into that kind of stuff, or if you're just starting to develop an interest in that. It's time to really maybe kind of do that deep dive in. If you're chomping at the bit to get things going with that eclipse, it could be a great way to get it jump started. And then as we get to the first quarter moon, we're going to make some adjustments if things aren't really working out. But take the plunge. End of the month is a good time to do that, around the 29th. This follows, going down the rabbit hole can be just so much fun, I think. I've been doing it a lot lately, and sometimes you really just do some digging and you just kind of get outside your mind, and you're just put you somewhere else because you're so focused on what you're learning about. Finding out secrets maybe, or scandals also. But you also want to be compassionate, because we have these planets in Pisces, so it's about compassion. Be careful what you might expose also, because if you really start looking into things, once something gets exposed, you kind of have to deal with that thing. And sometimes those things are difficult to deal with. So you want to keep that in mind. I've actually had something almost exposed to me and news kind of put out to me with information that I then did that kind of deep dive and digging into to find out, like, is this true? Is this true what I'm hearing? But now I have to weigh my options. Okay, so now what am I going to do with this information? How do I move forward now that I know this? Because I feel like on a certain level, you have to do something, or you're going to have that guilt about it if you don't, because if you hear something bad that happens because of the information, then you're going to, have that remorse where I could have done something. So again, the more digging you do, you might have to deal with these things in the long run. So again, that's something that I'm kind of struggling with already, and I got a whole month of that to go. So could, hurt somebody or hurt yourself about what comes out, but you also want to, protect people. I think we'll see a lot of this month with things coming out and a lot of people getting hurt over it because of the things that are going to be coming out on a national scale here in the United States with these Epstein and maybe Diddy lists and whatnot. Affairs, a lot to do with affairs, money, sneaking, stealing money, misappropriating money, things that people have said or tweeted in the past coming back to haunt them. Again, I think a lot. It's going to be a big month. So we end the month with this month is going to be crazy. It's going to end just as crazy with Neptune's ingress into Aries. Now, Neptune's going from a place where he's very comfortable, very that warm and fuzzy, into a place where it's more action, and that kind of fuzzy action, kind of like, going somewhere in the fog. Now I think that the curtain is really going to get pulled back. We'll get more deep into that history. We're going to put out a video on this because, no one has lived while Neptune has been in Aries. So you have to kind of go back to the past before we were born to see what it was like back then. And, no one has had this placement since 1875. And I don't think anyone's alive since then. They'd be 150 years old, and don't think that would be the case. So we will have a video where we look into the themes of the past so we can see what is in store for us. So you want to stay tuned for that. So again, don't forget to subscribe, you guys. I'll put a link up here. And so you want to subscribe, you want to hit that notification bell and get your popcorn ready, because this is going to be a month, I think, that is going to really start the transformation of the world as we know it. I think that we're going to look at things a lot differently. So have a great month, y'all. Again, please subscribe. Let's help grow the channel. It really helps, especially if you leave a comment. Let me know where you want to grow, what you think about this month coming out, what you would like to see exposed, maybe. So we have a lot coming up, and I hope to see y'all there. See you soon. Bye.